The drama story begins in Korea, where we see a few students, one of whom is getting hit by 4 other students. And name of this student is Jae-soo. These students, together, are beating Jung-soo very badly. However, after a while, something unusual activity starts to happen in Jae-soo's body. After witnessing his body, it appears like he would turn into a zombie. Jae-soo begins to attack the students who were beating him badly. He reacts like a zombie, attacking someone even though they can't see them. Jae-soo falls on the road while attempting to attack a student. After falling on the road, he doesn't move at all. The 4 students now consider him dead. Later, the scene moves to a hospital, where we see Jae-soo, who has been admitted there. Now here, Jae-soo's father, whose name was Mr. Lee, arrives to meet him. And the two converse for a while, although Jae-soo was already aware that he could become a zombie. His father was also aware that he could be converted into a zombie. Jae-soo also tries to attack his father during this. Meanwhile, Mr. Lee is holding a Bible and pointing it towards Jae-soo. Mr. Lee later packs Jae-soo in a bag and transports him out of the hospital. While Jae-soo's hand emerges out and he grabs his father's hand. It revealed here that zombies aren't going to die easily. Here, the scene cuts off, and we see a scene from a few days later where we are shown a school in Korea. We are shown a Korean school, where everyone is thrilled that summer is over and winter has arrived. All of the students are very happy, and there is a school-wide culture that requires students to clean the school on their own. And they are all actively involved in this duty. Meanwhile, a science lab is shown. We see a girl awaking. She is the same girl who was with the students that were beating Jae-soo at the beginning of the film. When the girl is about to leave the science lab, she suddenly hears a strange sound. Upon investigation, she notices a mouse trapped in a box. Now, she starts showing affection to the mouse and tries to bond with it. She signals to the mouse with her finger, inviting it closer to her. Just then, the mouse comes closer and bites her finger, causing her finger to bleed, and the mouse eventually becomes a zombie. We now know that if the rat bites her, she will turn into a zombie. Meanwhile, the lab's science teacher, Mr. Lee, arrives on the scene. It becomes clear that Mr. Lee was their science teacher. When Mr. Lee discovers that she has been bitten by the mouse, he doesn't allow her to let her go and locks her up. Later on, we see the main character, and it is revealed that his mother owns a restaurant, and all of her friends insist him to eat at her mother's restaurant. Then, San takes all of his friends to his mom's restaurant. Later in the series, we meet another main character named Anjo. They share a dinner at this restaurant and enjoy it a lot, as well as discussing their school teacher. They were discussing how Mr. Lee has been acting strangely since his son vanished. They're talking about Jae-soo, who went missing and we had last seen him in the suitcase. After then, no one knows anything about him. And then they go outside the restaurant later. And we come to know that San had a crush on Anjo. Anjo asks San with her hair down how she looks. He also wonders if Anjo also like him. Afterwards, everyone goes back to their homes. And now we see the girl who Mr. Lee had locked up, but she hasn't yet turned into a zombie. The next morning, we observe Anjo seated with her father and conversing. At that moment, San arrives at Anjo's house. And this also reveals to us that San and Anjo live in the same building. They play a game there, and decides the loser takes the winner's bag to school. Now that Anjo has lost the game, she takes San's bag to school, where they arrive later. We see that the school has a pleasant environment, and that all of the students appear to be happy and enjoying. Then we see those boys who beaten Jae-soo. They are now taking a girl and a boy to the school's backyard building, where construction work was underway. They beat that boy a lot. They all suppose that he informs the teacher of Jae-soo's disappearance news. They begin filming a immoral video of the female they have taken with them. With the video, they used to blackmail the boy. Here, the entry of the third main character takes place, whose name is Suyuk, who saves the girl and takes her away. While walking along the street, Anjo see him and opens her hair after see him. We understand here that she likes Suyuk, not San. On the other hand, Suyuk and San appear to be excellent friends, and their class teacher later enters their classroom. She begins to collect their cell phones. She inquires about the missing girl. While a student claims to have seen her in the science lab the last time. She goes to the science lab to ask Mr. Lee about it, but he refuses to believe and says that she hasn't been there. Meanwhile, the teacher hears an unusual noise. Mr. Lee claims that he has locked a rat and it might be the sound of that rat. When the teacher returns, she sees the girl who has transformed into a zombie. When Mr. Lee injects her, it appears that he is performing an experiment on her. She asks Mr. Lee not to murder her, and he replies, "I hope so, but I wouldn't kill you." He's probably aware that she's about to die. Later, he enters the classroom later. We can tell that the boy is bullying the girl whose videos he previously recorded. He was one of the students who beat Jiang-soo. Mr. Lee was teaching a chapter on a virus. He confidently asserts that it is wrongly written in the book, yet, that girl whom Mr. Lee had bound was untied. She went to her class teacher and told her everything that Mr. Lee had done to her. After seeing her condition, all of the students in the class become terrified. She also claims that Mr. Lee injected her. As a result, the entire conversation has gone viral in the class. Meanwhile, Suyuk takes her to the medical room, and Anjo joins Suyuk. And when the girl was being laid on the bed, she bites on Anjo's hand. On the other side, students in the class are debating how Mr. Lee is torturing her because she and her gang used to torture his son. We see a girl who was going to take her bag at home because her health was failing, and she walks quietly back to her house. Later, San notices that the girl has bitten Anjo. He goes to rescue her, but there is no one there when he returns. Anjo's father bandages her and the girl is carried to the hospital in an ambulance. Anjo's father is an ambulance worker. While walking into class, Anjo calls Suyuk and give him her name Best, which in Korea meant asking for a date. Suyuk asks Anjo, "Did you want to go out on a date?" and she says yes. San also arrives. Due to this, Anjo becomes very angry because she thinks that Sam has come and disturbed both of them. When Mr. Lee arrives at the lab to check, he finds that the girl is not there. Seeing this, he also becomes tense and worried. Meanwhile, one of the teachers approaches Mr. Lee and inquires about the girl, taking him to the principal's office. Mr. Lee tells the girl should not have been sent outside, she should have been kept in quarantine. However, the principal refuses to report the incident to the police, prompting Mr. Lee to question why no action was taken when my son was being humiliated. Meanwhile, the police come and arrest Mr. Lee. On the other hand, we witness a medical teacher who got bitten by that girl and turned into a zombie very instantly. We see the school where during recess, all of the children came into the canteen to have lunch. Anjo was sitting there with his friends, discussing how can she propose to Suyuk. On the other side, we see Suyuk, who is trying to impress another girl. She was the class president and had to sit alone because her mother had forced her to become a class representative. She didn't like this at all, which is why no one in the class respects her. On the other side, we see two boys from the same gang who had attacked Jiang-soo earlier. The boys walk towards the medical lab where they see the teacher who had transformed into a zombie and who acts weirdly. They start recording a video of the medical teacher. But suddenly, the teacher attacks both of them. She grabs one of the boys by the cheek and bites him, and now the boy also quickly turns into a zombie. He begins to eat the other students. And then, we see the scene on the school rooftop, where the girl tries to commit suicide, whom those boys had earlier filmed in a disturbing video. In the meantime, her friend arrives to save her by stopping her from doing so. That girl asks him, "Why are you doing this? Do you like me?" He answers, "Yes, I like you," but the girl says, "Don't do that. I'm a loser, and you're a loser too. Together, we'll become big losers." Then, the girl going to takes her own life and looks below, where she sees some students falling out the window. These students were actually grabbing zombies and jumping with them, and she is disturbed as a result of witnessing this. All of the zombies who had fallen began attacking students in the ground. Later, we see the school canteen, where everyone is relaxed because they have no idea what's going on. Anjo tells Sam here to ask Suyuk if he likes her or not. Hearing all this, Sam's heart gets broken, and he refuses to help her. Then Anjo looks out of the window and sees a large group of students running away. Suddenly, her attention is drawn to something below, and she sees that some zombies are attacking and devouring the fleeing students. Among them, the first person we see is the boy who was part of the gang and turned into a zombie. He has now arrived at the scene and immediately launches an attack on Anjo. With this scene episode 1. In the second episode of this series, we see some students playing on the ground while zombies attack them and the students flee. Later, we show the principal's office, where he is yelling at all of the teachers, telling them that the news about zombies has been leaked to the media, and that this should not happen. However, a teacher doesn't like it, and as she goes outside for the announcement, a zombie comes and attacks a teacher. After that, we see a scene in the canteen where we witnessed earlier that a zombie had attacked Anjo, but San comes to rescue her. San saves her and the two of them jump out the window, but there were a lot of zombies too. They both managed to escape from the zombies and run towards the gate. However, at that moment, a truck accident occurs there because its driver has also turned into a zombie. Sam and Anjo save themselves and reach the first floor of a building. They reach at the class, but students there refuse to unlock the door, because they think that they are zombies too. However, on their insistence, they open the door and everyone enters the classroom. On the other side, we see Suyuk, who was escaping with the class president. He also manages to enter to this classroom through a window. Now, all these people are gathered in the classroom. And then we see the first girl turned into a zombie was taken to the hospital. And we see Mr. Lee in jail, and we learn that he was a scientist first. He has a cat and a rat in a cage. The rat sits fearfully in one corner of the cage. But one day, when Rat became extremely angry, Mr. Lee took his DNA and created a medicine from it. Now he believed that his son was also very fearful, which is why he would become very angry. But first of all, his son turned into a zombie and he attacked his own mother and killed her. Here we come to know that Mr. Lee was a very big psycho. After that, we see the girl in the hospital where she is undergoing some tests. Suddenly, she bites two doctors who were attending to her. Both of them are now turned into zombies at the same time. Zombies spread throughout the hospital because of everyone biting each other. After this, we see the girl who left school and, luckily, she had left the school before this incident even happened. Meanwhile, we notice a bus carrying a large number of students returning from a game. When they arrive at school, they become shocked. On the other side, students in the classroom are trying to find a phone to ask for help. They call the police, but they don't bother since they think the students are playing a prank. The police department on the other hand has received a report that zombies have spread the hospital. They are concerned after this, but Anjo phones her father, who leaves the hospital with his team to help them after hearing this. Then, a teacher enters their classroom, and all the students become very happy seeing the teacher. The teacher instructs all the students to securely close the doors and windows. When Anjo notices the teacher's hand was also bitten by a zombie, he instantly transforms into a zombie. He bites another girl and makes her a zombie too. All of the students fight with that teacher. After that, the students lock the teacher inside that room and leave. And they run towards lab. Here Suyuk starts fighting off the zombies with great skill, taking them down one by one, as he was good fighter. Afterwards, they finally reach the lab, but when they reach the lab, they find that the door is locked. Anjo breaks the lock while the other students fight the zombies. And when they enter the lab, they lock all the doors and windows there. Anjo asks about Suyuk, because he left outside. She supposes that he also has been transformed into a zombie. Then, a scene on the rooftop is shown to us. We had seen both the boy and the girl in episode 1 as well. The scene moves to a washroom, where a girl is hiding from zombies. A girl and a boy were hidden in the next washroom, and the girl was infected while the boy was unaware. And the girl in the other washroom takes the boy out of that washroom and locks the girl there. And then she turns into a zombie, an arrow hits her head. Two additional main characters from the series are also introduced here, whom was skilled at using a bow and arrow. And we've seen them on the bus. They've just arrived there from the bus. Later, we see the teacher's announcement that the school is in horrible form and the students should hide wherever they are. Now all of the students are shown where they are hidden throughout this time. We notice the principal, who had been hiding behind the table. Now, Anjo's friend talks to Sam and asks him if Anjo has told him that she likes Suyuk. After that, she goes to Anjo, and he notices that her body is getting cold, and in the next moment, she turns into a zombie. She used to be Anjo's best friend, but now that she's a zombie, she attacks her. They have now dropped her from the window, and Anjo is holding her hand. She does not want to let go of her best friend's hand. Following these events, Anjo becomes rather pessimistic. On the other hand, we see Suyuk, who was still alive and hiding behind the bench. They all decide to go down while holding the pipe because the door is about to be broken and the zombies will attack. San declares that he would go first, and upon seeing Anjo, he understands that she is unconcerned about anyone. She was sitting silently, and he decides to go at the last and he sends all the students down. There was an announcement room where the pipe ended, and their teacher was also present there. Who was pulling each student inside one by one. San and Anjo were now left on the upside. He invites her to come, but she refuses, claiming that there is no one living that she likes. Listening to this hurts him, and ultimately she agrees with him and he sends her downstairs. Now we see Suyuk, who was running from zombies and comes out from the window. When San reaches that room, there were many zombies there who takes him with them. In the end, we see Mei dies after falling with the zombies. With this scene, episode 2 ends here. Episode 3 starts with Mr. Lee and he was telling the police, yes, I have invented the virus, and the scene cuts here. Later, the girl is shown her condition was worse. She goes to a public toilet and gives birth to a baby. That's why the girl was sick. After leaving her baby there, she walks away. When she comes out, she realizes that there are zombies everywhere. Later, Suyuk is shown he was trying to go into a room through the pipe. He sees some zombies were jumping by taking Sam with them. This is the scene that ended in the last episode. But now Suyuk helps Sam. Then they enter the conference room. The strange things happen here when they come into the room. The girl in the pink sweater was asking everyone to close the window. Meanwhile, a boy asks her to let them come inside. Then we will close the window. The girl starts misbehaving with that boy. Their teacher arrives and makes them quiet. They notice a computer there. They start watching the scene of the outside on the computer. What is going on outside? The scene outside is shown where were the zombies everywhere and people were uploading videos of it. Now they also get the video and discover that the zombies are spread everywhere. Suddenly, a zombie comes to the window through the pipe. Suyuk attacks him with a rod, but San's friend hits him with the computer CPU. His nose starts bleeding during this fight. The girl in the pink sweater says you are infected and about to turn into a zombie. The scene cuts here. And in the next scene a politician is shown. Anjo's father was also there to rescue her. One of the members of the politician has been infected. On other side, San's friend is shown and everyone was blaming him. That he is infected. He will also turn into a zombie soon. They ask him to stay in a room for an hour. The teacher asks the girl who blamed him that if you will not turn into a zombie within an hour you will apologize to him. And then San's mother is shown, who has heard about zombies in the news. She gets on her scooty and rides away to save her son. The police were also covering the whole city. So the infected people will not come out. The others will not get infected because of them. After that, we see the 4 students in the school washroom, whom we had seen before. On another side, San's friend is shown. He was in the room for the past half hour but he wasn't infected. The teacher goes to call him out. San's friend doesn't come out and the teacher asks the pink sweater girl to call him. She also asks her to apologize to him. The girl apologizes to him and starts cleaning his hands wound with her handkerchief. This girl does very bad with San's friend. She puts the zombie's blood in his blood through the handkerchief so the zombie's blood will be mixed in his blood. So his body will be infected completely. Then she again says bad about the boy and he also fights with her in anger. The girl was still saying that he is infected. Everyone says if he would be infected he would have been changed into a zombie till now. The night appears and San's friend also gets infected. Everyone becomes emotional for San's friend. Because he was a brave boy who helped everyone. San's friend also becomes a zombie. He attacks San firstly. San distracts him and throws him down the window. Then he starts running with the other zombies while falling down from the window. San becomes sad seeing him. Because he was a good friend of him. The girl is shown running here and there with her baby. The girl reaches the restaurant of San's mother. She ties herself there because she was also infected. She places her baby aside so she will not harm her baby after being a zombie. There was silence in the school's lab and everyone was silent. They were depressed for San's friend. The pink sweater girl says I told you he was already infected. She thinks everyone will thank her that she has saved their life. Meanwhile, the class's president slaps her and says I have seen everything. What have you done? And she tells the truth to everyone. That what this girl has done. The girl starts weeping but still she wasn't feeling regret for her mistake. The girl leaves while weeping. The class teacher also moves behind the girl. The teacher went behind her to save her from zombies but many zombies arrive there. They attack them. Then teacher runs from zombies by taking the girl with her. And episode 3 ends at this scene. In episode 4, we see San's mother who came to the school ground to save her son. When San's mother comes to the school, she sees San's friend first. But she didn't know that San's friend has also become a zombie. When she comes to San's friend to ask about San's friend and other zombies together bite her. And all the zombies together eat him. On the other hand, we see the students in the science lab who were thinking that maybe the teacher and that girl have escaped from zombies. Because there was no sound of their screaming yet. On the other hand, we see the student who was part of that gang who used to harass people. Now he comes out by escaping from the zombies. So he tries to get out of the school by sitting on a cycle. But suddenly his cycle chain comes off. And a lot of zombies get behind him. Then he goes back to school. Now he goes to the principal's office. There he also kills a lot of zombies. And the principal was also hiding in the office. On the other hand, we see the two girls who were fighting in the washroom. After this, we see the police officer who was still asking Mr. Lee about that virus. Mr. Lee tells the police officer that he made this virus so that he can strengthen his son. But this virus turned against his son. And his son became a zombie and ate his mother first. Now this city was getting empty. Then the police officer takes Mr. Lee out with him. But a lot of zombies come there. Now they attack the police officer. Then Mr. Lee goes to save the police officer. But a zombie attacks him and bites him. Now Mr. Lee knew that he would die soon. He tells the police officer that my laptop is in the science lab, in which there is an antidote to this virus. After hearing all this, the police officer runs away from there. Now Mr. Lee, who had become a zombie, but despite being a zombie, he could control himself. Now the police officer goes to a boy. And he is told to go with him to the emergency management. Because he could go there and tell everyone about the laptop, in which there was an antidote to the virus. Now in the morning we see those students who were stuck in the science lab. No one had come to them for help yet. On the other hand, we see the students stuck in the washroom. They had fought a lot at night. Now all these people decide that they will all leave from here together. Now the same boy of the gang who made the video of that girl. The girl we saw on the roof, who was trying to commit suicide. Now that boy uploads his video. But that girl now goes out to save herself. And she decides that she will break the phone of that boy. So that the video cannot be uploaded. So now she goes out, but then zombies attack her. And she also escapes the zombies, but the zombies had bitten her. The zombie virus has no effect on that girl. And on the other hand, we see San and So-yuk, who now try to go to the staff room, so that they can get a mobile phone there. When they reach the staff room, they see the girl there, who was breaking the phone. At that moment, San picks up a phone from there. But that girl comes forward to kill San. Then So-yuk saves San and pushes that girl back. Now more zombies were coming to the staff room. Then So-yuk tries to go out of the window. But San could not reach the window. Then he goes out of the door. Now we see the principal and that boy, who had reached the principal's office. The principal gives the key to that boy, and asks him to bring the car. But he refuses to do this. Then a fight starts between them. Then we see Anjo's father, who was rescuing all the people there. But now more zombies had come to that place. He was trying to go to the roof. His helicopter had to come there, so that he can save all the people and take them from there. On the other hand, we see San, who had gone out of the door. Now he also reaches the principal's office. There he goes and sees that the boy is killing the principal. Then San refuses that boy, and starts making a video of him. But that boy gets so angry that he kills the principal. Then he runs after San. In episode 5, we see that the boy of the gang runs after San and attacks him with a knife to stop San. But San does not get hurt by the knife and he survives. San reaches a library. Now that boy fights with San there, and asks him for the phone, so that he can delete the video that San had uploaded. But then San hits the phone on his eye, and he gets very much injured. And San throws the boy of the gang down and runs away from there. Now zombies had also bite that boy, and San runs away from the library. Now we see the students in the washroom, who were stuck there. Now they come out of there, and they reach the school's medical room, where they see a computer, which goes through the pipes to save themselves from zombies. On the other side, the commanders are shown, who had set up a martial law in the whole city, and had also cut all the signals. San now tries to call the emergency, but his phone does not reach, because all the networks in the city were over. On the other side, Anjo tells a student to bring the drone, which he had made and kept in the lab. They go out of the window to get the drone. Then the police officer is shown, who was looking for the laptop with the same man. Now they sit in a car. But the car was also broken there. Then they go to a restaurant, which was of San's mother. There they go and see the same girl, who had tied himself, and he also gets his baby. Now San had also reached a music room. On the other side, Anjo and that student had come with the drone. Now they set the drone. With the help of that drone, they also find out about San, and now they also find out that San is absolutely fine. They also take the drone to the city, where they see that there were a lot of cars. Then a student sees his mom and dad in a car, who had now become zombies. She looks at this and cries a lot. With this, the zombies also break their drone. On the other hand, Anjo's father had saved them, and brought them to the military office in his helicopter. Now the military people lock them in a room, so that they can test whether these people are infected or not. And that gang boy who had now become a zombie, now the zombies were not coming near him. On the other hand, the girl in the video is shown, who was bitten by zombies, but nothing had happened to him yet. We see San, who was in the music room. Now there was also the girl in the pink sweater, but she does not tell about herself that she is here. On the other hand, the student whose parents had now become zombies. She tries to commit suicide, because her parents had died. But her friends stop her from doing this. After which they get an idea, with which they could have reached San. So their plan was that they would run this song through the mic in some parts of the school, because of which all the zombies in the school would go there. Then the whole school can be empty. And then they could go to San. And then they could take him to the terrace.so that they can call for help. Now they do the same. And all the zombies run and gather at one place. But a zombie who was deaf could not hear him. He was there. When those people are slowly going behind him, then that zombie suddenly sees them and attacks them. But they attack the zombie and run away from there. Then, on the other hand, we see the boy who was injured by Sans Mobile. Now he comes there and starts killing everyone. Then his eyes fall on the Soyug who was fighting zombies. He kills that zombie and asks Soyug about San. But Soyug refuses him. About this, there is a lot of fight between them. The boy of that gang was about to kill Soyug. But then the class president comes there. She tries to stop him. But then he bites her hand, but Soyug drops that boy from the window. On the other hand, Anjo's father, who makes some guards unconscious. Because the guards were not listening to Anjo's father, they were not ready to go to school. So he unconscious those guards and come out wearing their uniform. After this, Soyug and the class president reach near San and other students. When San sees on the hand of that class president that a zombie has bitten her, then he goes ahead to kill her. Then Soyug holds the hand of class president and says, "If she becomes zombie, I will drop her from the window." Then we see some other students who were in the medical room. They come out and help their friend because he was badly injured. Now the class president was infected. Then Soyug ties his hand with his hand so that he can't harm anyone else. On the other hand, we see the police officer who saved that girl's baby. Now they take her out, but then they see another girl there, behind whom there were many zombies. Now they take that girl too and come back to the restaurant. On the other hand, the students stuck in the music room. Now they were very hungry. They try to open that room where there was a lot of food. And inside that room, there was a girl in a pink sweater who now locks the door from inside. On the other hand, Anjo's father, who had left there to save his daughter, but the soldiers see him there and start firing at them. Now all the students get a camera. They record in that camera and everyone tells about their feelings. On the other hand, Anjo's father, jumping into the water while saving himself, but a bullet hits him, and he gets. In episode 7, we witness Soyug still being with the girl who had been bitten by a zombie. He confesses his deep affection for her. Subsequently, the girl, who had been partially transformed into a zombie after being bitten, becomes the subject of a video created by her peers. These boys had also fallen victim to zombie bites. Now, she approaches her teacher, who had previously failed to intervene when the boys harassed her. Consequently, the teacher reacts aggressively upon seeing her. This teacher, who had not supported her when she faced harassment, ends up becoming her unfortunate meal as she was extremely hungry due to her zombie condition. Simultaneously, we observe a group of students trapped in the music room. They devise a plan to escape the situation. Their primary objective is to reach the terrace, where they can call for assistance. To achieve this, they decide to divide the room into two sections. Their intention is to lure the zombies into one part of the room by playing music, thereby creating an opportunity to exit through the other door. Remarkably, their plan succeeds, and they manage to escape through the alternate door, avoiding the impending danger of the zombies. As for the students who were still trapped in the medical room, they decide it's time to make their escape. However, one of the students is severely injured, so they improvise a makeshift bed for him. When they attempt to leave, an unfortunate accident occurs. The bed collapses, creating a loud noise that attracts the attention of nearby zombies. In a swift move, they retreat back into the school to evade the pursuing zombies. Meanwhile, police officers are helping children on a bike to safety. However, they spot a boy stranded on the terrace with a broken leg. This boy is also a blogger and calls out for help. When one of the police officers goes to rescue him, the other officer, who is accompanying him, betrays him and escapes with the bike. On the terrace, a group of students has gathered, desperately trying to open the locked terrace door, their hopes of escape hanging in the balance. In episode 8, the situation on the terrace takes a dramatic turn. There's another student present on the terrace who doesn't assist the others and refuses to open the door. However, a military helicopter arrives on the scene and rescues this student. When questioned, he reveals that he is the sole survivor among those left alive, with the rest having perished. The military personnel evacuate him from the area. Meanwhile, one of the students who had turned into a zombie sets fire to the school, triggering the fire alarms and causing all the doors, including the one to the terrace, to open. This development enables the remaining students to access the terrace, where they begin calling for help. The zombie student attempts to open the door, but their hand breaks in the process. The survivors on the terrace resort to writing an SOS message, hoping to attract assistance. The police officer who had not betrayed the blogger takes a proactive approach. Instead of leaving him behind, he arranges for a bus and gathers other children to join them. Together, the officer, the blogger, and the other children board the bus, and the helpful officer takes them to safety. On the terrace, one of the students attempts to start a fire. In a surprising turn of events, another student hands over their lighter to the one trying to ignite the fire. This gesture gives the impression that the student was trying to smoke. Meanwhile, the officer who was driving the bus encounters an accident involving a girl and his vehicle. This incident attracts the attention of military personnel, who arrive at the scene to rescue everyone and bring them along. On another front, the girl in the pink sweater, who had secluded herself, now contemplates bringing food to the students who remain stranded on the terrace, showing a compassionate and caring side amidst the chaos. And her reminisces about the time when her teacher sacrificed her life to save her. However, as she ventures out, she encounters the same half-zombie gang boy who is still ravenous. He grabs the girl and devours her. Meanwhile, Sun opens up to Anjo, expressing his feelings of affection for him. However, Anjo doesn't share the same sentiment and abruptly leaves. Sun insists that it's okay if Anjo doesn't reciprocate his feelings, but Anjo urges him to depart from their current location. As the situation intensifies, the same gang boy who had become a zombie resurfaces and initiates a confrontation. However, the class president, who is also partially transformed into a zombie, manages to grab him and throws him off the terrace. Despite the fall, the gang boy doesn't meet his demise just yet, adding to the suspense of the situation. In episode 9, the officer who was rescued by the military informs them about the origin of the virus. He reveals that a teacher named Mr. Lee created the virus, and the antidote is stored in Mr. Lee's laptop, which is located in the school's science lab. In response to this critical information, the commander orders a mission to retrieve the laptop. Meanwhile, the students on the terrace spot a helicopter approaching and call out for assistance. Several soldiers disembark from the helicopter and begin checking the students' temperatures. It becomes evident that the class president's temperature is unusual due to her partial transformation into a zombie. The soldiers inform the students that their priority is to obtain the laptop from the science lab first, and only after that will they proceed with the rescue operation for the students on the terrace. In the military camp, the situation takes a grim turn. The girl who had been involved in the accident with the bus turns out to be a half-zombie, and she attacks and consumes one of the boys. This shocking incident is witnessed by the commanders, and they realize that there may be other students who are also secretly zombies. This uncertainty leads them to make a difficult decision. They refuse to rescue the group of students, including Ancho and Suyuk, as they cannot be certain who among them might be zombies. The soldiers abandon the stranded students and leave the scene. San, deeply frustrated by this turn of events, extinguishes the bonfire and removes the SOS sign in a fit of anger and disappointment. Meanwhile, the story shifts to Ancho's father, who is still on his way. He encounters a man in need of help, but he hands over his gun to the man and continues on his journey with the sole purpose of saving his daughter. On the other side, the military has captured the infected girl. As night falls, rain begins to pour down on the area. The students stranded on the roof are confronted with not only the rain but also ominous clouds covering the sky. In light of these conditions, they reach a decision. They believe that the sound of the rain and thunder will help mask their presence, making it difficult for zombies to detect them. With this in mind, they carefully descend from the rooftop. However, as they make their way down, San is faced with a heart-wrenching sight. He spots his own mother, who has been transformed into a zombie. This emotionally charged encounter adds another layer of complexity to their already perilous situation. In episode 10, San's discovery of his mother's zombified state is a deeply emotional and heartbreaking moment. San is overwhelmed with